I am live. It's telling me. Nice. Welcome. Stream announcement. There we are. And then we should be good. Mine B, welcome. Zen Lion, Malogify, Niels, and some other names. Those were very early, so I don't know if they're still here. Tsuyuno and Kingthin, obviously both here. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the stream. Obviously today is a Sunday, so it's going to be feedback day. I do have to do something before we get into feedback. I need to ID a track, like get the name of the track, because I don't know the track. There's two things that can happen. Either one of you guys in chat know this track, and you guys just tell me the name. Otherwise, at the end of the stream, I will be getting a copyright claim for this track. But yeah, this was played at Burning Mountain, and for the life of me, I cannot find this actual track. I cannot Shazam it, I cannot find it using the Google Music feature, just doesn't pick it up. So, yeah, either you guys know it, or I'll get a copyright stream for the track that I'm about to play on the feedback session. Anyway, if you guys know this track, let me know. This is Burning Mountain, by the way. This is really cool. Maybe unreleased? No, it's just not. It wasn't just picking up like the sound quality. You know, when you try with the Google thing, I just played it on the. If I tried uploading it to a private video, I decided to just use this stream for it. Maybe somebody in the chat knew the track. Late, how are you doing? Kev Human, welcome. A lot of people here already. Anybody ever heard that vocal somewhere? I mean, if not, I'll get a copyright strike, so that will be okay. It's the fun part of being a YouTuber. You can use your copyright strikes to an advantage. I think Blastoise was playing when I filmed this. Either Blastoise or Mickey. I don't know if this is the Friday evening or the Saturday evening. But it looks really cool, right? It's the visuals were really well done. I mean, I posted the whole video, but this is a little bit of footage that I didn't think I showed here. This effect was really trippy. The thing kind of coming forward and backwards. And the waving and stuff, because it looks like it's actually the wood that is doing it, but obviously that's not the case. It is, yes, it's a proggy kind of style, yes. Unfortunately not my style, so I can't help. I don't think, yeah, it's not the kind of style that I usually kind of show on my channel. It's much more progressive, but I do love to listen to it. It's really nice to just listen to. And obviously at the festival it was amazing. Anyway, welcome everybody. Dash is here, very nice. We have Greedo here, we have Gabriel here. A lot of people are here. So, as you guys know, we're going to be doing feedback. I saw that there was already at least one post in here. A few already, a lot of posts. Nice, we can dive straight into it. We can dive into it with Alvin Tap. I work on this track, I'm really happy you can see your feedback in live. Thank you very much, Projector. You're welcome. Mantra Aura Borealis by Alvin Tap. Morpher, how are you doing? If somebody does come up with the track afterwards, then it would be nice, but let's see. I'll look at the copyright claim after the stream. That will be okay. Island Tribe kind of vocals. Those vocals seem like a main element. I would continue them in the build-up and I would put them a little bit more forward in the mix. I can recommend a few tracks. Let me open up my Spotify. I mean, this track is also very progressive and very nice. I'll recommend you something after this track, Wave Morpher. Kick transient is a little bit messed up. This means cleaning up your kick and bass. You can see it also here in the frequency kind of continuing in the kick. That's where the waterfall display comes in handy here. You get to see the post ringing per frequency basically. Overall, I would say there's not enough fill material in this first part. You're just kind of changing without letting the kick and bass kind of go out for it a little bit and then coming back in. I would recommend doing like a 1-bar fill anytime that you're changing up the main element or the drums or your bass line. That's actually really important. And that one bass feels really hollow, and that's probably because it isn't cleaned up well, and then you get strange overlapping between the transient and the post ringing of the bass that is played before it. Hello Klaus, welcome. The kick is very quiet. Like looking at the waveform, you can see the dynamics of the bass here and here. The kick is a lot quieter than that, and obviously it's being messed up now by the bass line because it's not cleaned up, the bass line. Usually what you'll see here is if your bass line looks like this, then this last bit here where it goes up again away from the silence, you would just fade that out. You don't need that, right? So resample your kick and bass and then it should be good. And yeah, just the complete lack of fills makes it so that there isn't really a transition happening. Gabriel is saying like a bit random transition, but there isn't really a transition. It just kind of, a new section happens. There's no preparation for the listener to hear like, oh, the next part is going to be different. Sound design, this is really good. And theming as well. People point out the vocals, but I also like the little real world instruments that are sometimes in here. Here you have the vocals as well. That's a good feel. That's a place where you let some of the other elements come through so that people can listen to it. Also mix-wise, I don't know what's happening with that clickiness here. Southkit, welcome. Even though you retracted your message, I can still see that you're here. Welcome to the stream. I agree with that. Some risers, some downlifters to aid the transition, but also just a little bit of a pause. As I said before, the fill is really important. Like Like here you're going to go into a new section where this vocal is taking over as the main element. One, the vocal should be a bit louder. If it's a main element, which this definitely is because there's nothing else going on. But second, you need to prepare the listener for that change is going to happen. They don't know your project, right? A listener that has never seen your track before doesn't know what is about to happen in the track. But if you want them to go along with the flow of the track, you need to use fills and risers and downlifters like people are saying to actually, you know, get the listener prepared for the section that is about to come. It is a really cool track. It's a really cool sound design and overall the idea is great. It just needs some polishing. So that's Alvin Tap. Now we have Niels. Have you? I don't know. Let me read the prompt. Hey man, this is work of the last 3 days. I have been sitting in front of my desk, waking up, going to sleep. I can finally produce again after upgrading my PC because my old one couldn't keep up anymore. It's always nice when you have a little bit of extra inspiration, whatever it is. I remember upgrading my PC and also being able to open projects again that previously were running, you know, a little bit with the CPU. Let's see. I really enjoyed that. A really cool, nice vocal theme as well. Overall, the only thing that I would really say is that it doesn't sound aggressive enough in terms of the mix. In the sound design, it's okay, but the mix, it feels kind of like you were a little bit scared where you were going with the mix. And overall, there's things to clean up, right? The kick and bass, I talked about that, is to clean up. But in terms of production, I think everything is on point. And to be honest, your best bet to get this to like a professional level is to have it mixed and mastered by somebody else. Obviously, I say that because I want to start doing my own mixing services for other people, for those that don't know already. And I'm working towards having the facility and having all of the documents and stuff ready to be able to do that. But overall, I would say that in terms of the sound, it's quite a heavy kick and bass actually. But the mix isn't it isn't trying to push the elements to like as aggressive as they can be. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like there's a lot of saturation, a lot of clipping and all of that stuff going on in terms of the power of the mix. I'd love to have this mixed. Then DM me and then we can arrange something. Of course, my mixing services aren't public yet. I'm working towards that, as I said, having all of the documents finished yet. But if there's a few tracks like this, which I really believe in terms of their production, and I say like, all this need is a proper mix, then I'll definitely see if I can arrange doing the mix for you. And obviously, once the mixing services come out and everything is set up, then at that point, I will be, providing everybody. Yes, DM me on Discord, and then after the stream, we'll arrange everything. Okay. Next up, we have Virtual Instinct, Night Harvest, Master 150 BPM. I love this. I love that you master your stuff before you send it to me. That's always nice. You don't have to do that. A lot of people, like the track here, the last one, they just produce and then at the end of their production session, the Sunday, they just send me their tracks. But having a master version is always nice to hear because you can hear kind of a little bit better what the track is going to do when it's presented on the dance floor, I should say. Full processor, welcome. Suyuno, welcome. Just sent my last track on Discord. You're in the line, I believe. Yeah, there's a lot of people in line to have their track checked out. Right now we're Virtual Instinct. And this is Night Harvest. I have to lower my volume for this one because it's loud. But obviously that's because it's a master track. Kick and bass cleanliness is not present. You can see the transient of the kick here is being pushed upwards, right? Most of the transient lives here instead of here along the zero line. And that's a clear indication of not spending time cleaning up your kick and bass. Overall, the sound design is there. It is very strong coming into a first section. Yeah, and it's only becoming more. I think you're overdoing a few of the things in this production. Like just a few too many elements, right? Usually there's going to be one clear main element, supportive elements that help the main element sit in the mix properly and tell the story that it needs to tell. And then that's basically it, actually, I should say. Obviously then you have your kick and bass, drums, effects, all of that stuff. But in terms of synth sounds, you have one main element, a few supporting elements, maybe some one-shots, whatever it is. And that should be it. also think the kick and bass is a little bit too quiet here. But that might just be the fact that all of the other elements are kind of taking over. I'm learning. That's great. That's why I'm here, hoping to have other people learn about music production. One of the sections that you're missing out on, I would say, is your high end. I don't think you spend a lot of time worrying about the high end when it comes to stuff like drums and that. We heard some drums before, but they're gone now. Even though this is a very energetic part of the track, so you would expect there to be like a top loop to this. When it comes to like your main areas, low end I would say is okay, apart from the cleaning of the kick and bass. Your mid-range is a little bit too full, all of the elements are fighting for space. And then in your high frequencies, around the 10k mark, there's not enough stuff happening. There should be like a big drum loop helping with it, you know, the offbeat hi-hat, the snare, your 60 note rolling hi-hats, close hi-hats. With this amount of different things going on and this amount of different elements fighting for space, this is a very high energy part, and therefore yeah, I would expect some hi-hats, which are here now, but they're not really poking through them. What is the one in the middle? This, the spectrum, you can see all of the things in here. But this is a waterfall display. So you go to spectrum, and then I don't even remember which window is the one that determines that this is a waterfall instead of a normal spectrum like this. Yeah, I think this, yeah, you just set the color spectrum, and that over time shows you the spectrum of the track. Ramsey, how are you doing? This time not too late for the stream. I saw it yesterday. Yesterday you said hello as I was ending the stream. Yes, all of these are signalizers with different settings. This is the vector scope, this is the oscilloscope with these settings. You can make this however you want, obviously. And then we have two spectral ones. All of this is signalizer doing the analysis. I feel like there's just too much going on. Yes, I agree very much. The main tip for you that I would give you is when you're producing, each element should have a function. And in order to fulfill that function in the mix, it needs to have the proper space to fulfill the function that it's there to do, right? So if you have an acid line, which is going to be like a main lead, you need to give it a lot of space so that it can be a main lead and sit up front and be a main thing. If it's a supportive element, you need to make sure that it's actually supporting the main element and not overtaking the main element. Here it's just a cluster of sound kind of happening. much, Wave Morpher. Okay, I understand. Next week I show you the track. I like that. I like that mentality. Overall, as I said, the production quality is very good. The sound design is very good. I also really like the structuring of the track, like overall the macro structure. I like that you're using fills in a way that actually works. So there's a lot to like about this track. You just kind of overdid it with the sound design and the production. And you need to now dial it back and say, okay, which of the elements do I want the listener to actually listen to? Of the synths, the one-shots, the effects, whatever you have, right? Apart from the kick and bass and drums. Because that's kind of always in there in every track. What are the unique elements that stand out for my track? Mix them accordingly, mix everything else behind it. And then, because space is limited, right? The space that you have is just limited by definition. There you go up to 0 dB and then you cannot go above that. Because otherwise you're clipping and then you mess up the waveform and you mess up your track. So the space that you have for all of your elements is limited. So you need to decide, okay, which is my main element that I want people to listen to, and which are the elements that support that main element in, you know, getting across the main element. Overall though, I really like the production, really nice. Alum Tas. Finally back on producing after a couple of weeks of real life stuff. Mostly finished track. Kick and bass is still MIDI and needs cleanup, I know. Okay, I will resist the urge of telling you that you need to clean your kick and bass. I feel like I say that a lot, but it's obviously it's one of the big things that you just have to do when you're finalizing your production. Clean up your kick and bass. That's a given. For those that don't know, a cleaned up kick and bass is where you resample either your bass line or sometimes even your kick when you're making your kick in like kick 2 or something like that, and it's still a MIDI, and you turn it into audio, and then you can add fades to it and chop out individual notes so that you can recreate your bass line and have it cleaned up, so that before each transient of the kick or of the bass, whatever is happening before that in terms of kick and bass is just kind of fading out in volume, and then you have full space for the transient to sit in. That's very, very important, because it helps your track translate better into big systems.
Human beings are like fish in water that don't know we're living in water.
I mean, you already mentioned the lack of cleaning on the kick and bass. I don't even know if that's a real big problem on your kick, because your bass just kind of stops, right? It's very dynamic. So this bass line, even though it's playing at a high volume here, right here it's going to be at 0 volume. I don't know if I like that. I usually personally like a more sustained bass line. Right, this is just going all the way down in terms of volume. I would like it to see a bit more sustained and then fade out here right before the kick. But overall the kick transient looks actually very clean. Here I would also say the important thing that you're missing is fills. We had one fill in that last section. where the kick and bass stops, you're preparing the listener for everything that is about to happen, and then the new elements come in. This is good. So here we had a fill, and then we change all of the elements. That's the exact way to kind of do it. Is it too much in the center? I was about to say it does feel very mono for some of the elements that you have. Mainly the main synth that we heard in the last one was a little bit on the mono side. But like the kick and but the overall track itself, there's quite some stuff happening actually in the stereo field. Obviously the kick and bass is making it more mono than stereo, that's what you expect. But you do expect this to be kind of like at this level here.
All these other invisible forces moving.
And right now obviously this is where no kick and bass is playing, so we can be a lot more stereo.
Through our energy field and leaving traces of emotional impulses, thought forms, things of that kind. We have to be clear enough.
Vocal mix is good, I like it.
Separated from what we ourselves are generating in our thought field.
Strange structure going into a rolling kick and bass now, since you have a kind of standard, you know, 3-drop structure. You have your first drop, your second drop, and then your third drop. You would expect, if you're going into rolling kick and bass here, that then this would also be a rolling kick and bass to have the standard structure. I guess that's not the case, but hello Asset. Welcome. It is indeed still morning in Brazil, isn't it? I like it building up to the rolling bass, makes sense to me. It might make sense from an individual track, but in a mix, it doesn't really make sense, because obviously when you're mixing your track in with the other tracks in the set, the bassline types need to match up. So when it comes to mixability with other music, having a rolling bassline here and here is kind of standard, because then you can mix in here, have the progressive bit of that track that is playing, have the long breakdown of that track that is playing, and then mix out of the track like at the end here. That's kind of the standard way of doing it.
We have to be clear enough to perceive that separated.
And that's the reason why you see so many tracks that have a rolling bassline in the first and third drop, and then your second drop is a progressive bassline. Because that just flows well with the mix. You have, every once in a while you get your progressive bassline in there, and then the majority is going to be rolling. Yeah, actually that's going to be my set starter track. If this is going to be your set starter track, I would consider heavily making the intro a lot longer. Because when you see sets live, usually the intro to a set is 2 to 3 minutes. And that was the whole reasoning behind my track in the beginning. This is a set opener. Look at where the kick and bass starts to play. 3 minutes and 48 seconds, right? So all of this time is just to prepare the listener for the set that is about to come. There's the heavy drum stuff, there's the kick and bass kind of doing this. And then after 3.5 minutes plus, we actually go into this here. Is the rolling one with 2 and proc 3. Is the rolling one with 2 and proc 3. I don't know exactly what that means with just the numbers. What do you mean, Dennis? If you can elaborate on that, I can answer the question. We have many more submissions. Now we have Mind B. Ants on Shrooms. Let's go. Personally say maybe that vocal is a little bit too wide in terms of the stereo field. I was asking about the bass lines. I do understand that, but you need to elaborate what you mean with 2 and 3. What does that? What do those numbers mean?
So that they feel full long before eating their way through the entire mushroom. Humans, on the other hand, well, they trip.
Nice vocal mix. There's just a strange thing. I think you heard it as well with the fade in on the first kick where there was no transient. Kick and bass is perfectly clean. Look at this. Look at this waveform. You see the kick transient, you see the bass transient, you see the other bass transient, and then you see the next kick transient. I like how you're preparing the listener in advance for what is going to come. You could hear it with this synth here. Personally, I think you could turn down your bassline by like 1 dB, maybe. Feels like the kick is not quite overpowering enough here in this part. But I have to think about it because sometimes the kick just really comes through as well. think if you're gonna go for a build-up in that break there, that first part, you should really commit to it and have the snares kind of come in, you know, take over the high end and stuff like that. This is really cool. Very clean sounding track, I really like it. Not a lot for me to say on this track, actually. It's just a very, very good production. It's just going to need your kind of standard preparing for the master and then mastering it. At least I don't think this is mastered, right? Is this master? Did you master it, or is this just like a very loud mix? It is a master. Okay. Then maybe for a Psytrance master, I would say it's a little bit too dynamic. Psytrance obviously being dance music, you really, what you'll see is that most tracks tend to aim for like -6 LUFS. And you can really only get that if your wave looks kind of like a sausage, right? Just full power all the way, always up to 0 dB, always compressing, always limiting, that kind of stuff. It's hard to get a master to do that, and it has to be done already in the mix. Obviously what I talked about before in terms of like getting your main elements through and making space for everything. That's very important when you're trying to mix loudly. But the second thing is that at each point of the mixing stage, you tend to have a clipper. And then in the mastering stage, the way that I like to do it is mastering compressor. I like to use the dynamics Shadow Hill. I like to use this compressor as my mastering compressor. This is just slightly hitting the peaks, and then for my mastering chain I'll have pre-clip with oversampling at the ceiling, so at 0 dB. And then finally after that you can really go into your kind of mastering limiter. Okay. Reference Pro Tracks, which was at -12 dB. -12 LUFS, you mean, right? Because -12 dB doesn't make any sense. -12 LUFS is the normalized version for something like Spotify or something like that. But even in that case, I would probably just go for like a full strength master, I should say. And that usually is -7, -6 LUFS. When it comes to sidetrans, all the sidetrans that I buy from Bandcamp is mastered to -6. And like looking at the references, the tracks that I have as references have been doing very, very well in terms of numbers, right? There's Cambium, Asterix, Ace Ventura. These guys know what they're doing in terms of mixing and mastering. And all of this is mastered and mixed to -6 LEFS. From Bandcamp, I get it. Kind of weird that mastering requires compressor, clipper, and limiter, since the wave is literally just some numbers and the effects just some maths. Feels like it could be simpler. Well, I can pose to you the other way. There's an infinite range of numbers, a practically infinite range of numbers that you can put in each sample. It's not infinite. I know it's 24 or 32 bits, but that's still a lot. That's in the millions, in the billions even for 32. And then there's millions of samples throughout the track. Not millions maybe, but hundreds of thousands of samples for a whole 8-minute song. The fact that you can control each and all of those samples with just 3 effects is actually pretty brilliant. The fact that each and all of those samples kind of, when mixed properly, get pushed into line by a compressor, clipper, and then mastering limiter is pretty incredible. I really have to pee. I know there's some more tracks in here and I shouldn't probably take a break, but I will do it, even though we're just starting the stream. It's just been 50 minutes. I'm going to put on the track that I worked on yesterday and have you guys give me a little bit of feedback. But I do have to pee. You could see me drinking beers before, so that's the reason why. Anyway, this is the track. This is still in production, so it's not actually finished towards the end here. But yeah, I'll be right back.
being a player to me that's one thing. It's a fun game. But where the real fruit is in the social aspect, where you get to meet people and play them a game and have a fun, competitive game. You do the best you can, but if you don't win, you won anyway. Because when you lose, you win too. Because if you're paying attention, you learn stuff.
Glad you guys are liking the track. Welcome Matt. Any other new names here? Simex, I don't know if I said hello, but welcome. This could definitely work. Yeah, this is definitely a track that I'm considering sending to a label and seeing how well it does. This is my latest production. This is everything that I learned after Burning Mountain in terms of production. And I mean, this section you guys saw me produce it yesterday. When you pay attention to learn stuff. It's a really cool vocal. I found it in an Anna Kremling, the chess streamer and YouTuber and also just a good like chess player. I think she is like 2000 EDO or something, so a very strong chess player, but she makes videos, and one of the videos that she made was with a chess hustler in New York. And that's the I can show the video. I can find the video probably. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. So there's two videos. There's this one, which is I think the first video, and then there's the next one with the same guy. And I took both of those videos, recorded its whole basically, and took, because this, one of the cool things about those like chess hustler guys is that they speak a lot about like the philosophy of chess while they're playing. So I just took that and took all of the parts where chess isn't really mentioned itself, and I combined that all of that into this kind of abstract idea of this guy not talking about chess, the game, but life as a game, right? And the idea of this track is that eventually, when this is finished and all of the vocals are in there, the whole point of this track is that it's going to be the game of life instead of the game of chess. So I'm taking all of these little snippets of vocals from this chess game that they're playing, and I'm turning it into like a commentary on life. right? He talks about the social aspect and all of that stuff, and that you learn from your mistakes. And all of that, I turn that into just talking about life in general instead of it focused on chess, which I think is a cool idea. Love monotonous psytrance track. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if I should be spending more time on my bass melodies. I am not a fan of how my bass line usually sounds when I start to play melodies. So for that reason, this whole bass line is monotone, and obviously then you produce your track around that. But maybe I should do more with bass melodies and stuff like that. Anyway, who is next? Next up we have King Thin. Yet another old one. Maybe next week I'll have a new finished one ready. Knowing your production skills, this is still going to be a great track, King Thin. Under Entertained G158. I'm not a fan of the completely mono bass line. You could definitely make that a little bit more stereo, but obviously you can see that it's clean and it looks nice. Good stuff. Like there's a little bit of a lack of a main element in here. Maybe even some bandpass plugs that are just kind of continuing through the whole thing. There is a guitar sound in there, yeah, every beat. I like the drum fill in the bar there. This is King Thin, under Entertained G158. You can always recognize the King Thin tracks because there is this handsome motherfucker in here in the artwork. Jonah 2 will help. By leaping auto will help with mono compatibility on stereo basslines. All you really need for your stereo basslines is the lower few harmonics to not be stereo, and then the rest will be okay. Because you're not stereonizing to a point where it goes out of phase anyway with the higher harmonics of your bassline. Nice, and it's also clean. I like this. Here I would say this section, this second section, as cool as it is, it lacks a little bit of the fills. Like we said before, sometimes what you'll see is that people just produce a whole section without a fill in it. This BPM is 158.
Control your inner nature. Control your inner nature.
I wouldn't say the vocals are not present enough in terms of volume. They could use some more high ends to get that extra definition to hear what is actually being said. Obviously they're very glitchy in this part, so actually storytelling, they're not going to do that. Is there such thing as a BPM analyzer? It's missing some elements that don't suspend. There is a little bit of a lack of overall like kind of flow through the track. I do agree with that, yeah. Like this would be the point, since you're rising up, that you would have a big sequence in there. Some FM kind of sequence with like a bandpass on it. That's just doing 16 notes and your occasional 8 note. You know what I mean? How to do FMs back then, even regular synth grid work. How old is this track?
Control your inner nature.
I wouldn't say like it's problematic or anything like that. I think the most problematic thing the strangest thing of this track is that for a very dark kind of side track, your breaks are fairly long. And even this kind of outro is usually not something that is done on like a very dark track, because you just want to maximize the space that somebody is dancing to. Right, this is a very long part of the track which is going to be cut off every time in a DJ set. Right? If you would want to play it, it's not wrong, but if you would want to play this inside of a DJ set, then obviously this last part where it's going down in volume and you are transitioning into the kind of outro of the track is going to be cut off every time, because a DJ is just going to morph into the next track then. And it might be cooler to have maybe 2 sections or 2 parts of your final drop instead of spending so much time on the outro. And what I mean with the 2 parts is, now what you're doing is you're building up the energy level and then you're going into the outro. What you would have with 2 sections is that you build up the energy level and then you snap down and then you build it up again and then you snap down again and then you go into the outro. Remember correctly, this is from early 2022 or late 2021. I mean, when it comes to production, like just the quality of the elements that you've been putting in, I definitely can tell that you've been improving. Overall, I would say that you definitely have a gift in terms of your production, in terms of the quality of all of your work. Obviously, every time that you send me a track, King Thin, I take into account the fact that you have 1 ear instead of 2 that you're using to produce. But the stereo field wasn't a problem. There wasn't anything in the stereo field that I was like, oh, this is completely off. I've had that a few times with some of your productions. But the overall main thing that I hear in your productions here is that just the definition of all of the elements with your later tracks that you have been submitting recently, as opposed to this one, has just been monumentally better, right? The way that you've been able to with the mix and the master and the overall production, guide the listener to the elements that you really want them to hear, is just, it's great. Like in terms of production, that it's even something that I struggle with myself. And this is just amazing. Since March this year. Okay. So I know what stereo sounds like and what it should sound like. Okay, I thought it was longer. And I thought it was longer than that, but I mean, still, just being able to produce with one ear it's incredible. You shouldn't downplay it in any form, I should say. Zen Lion. Hey, I haven't fixed my kick and bass yet. I really didn't do anything to fix anything. I just kind of threw this together before the section I sent last week. I did it in the last 20 minutes. Okay. So this is in the early stage of production. Yeah, we can see from the waveform this isn't even a finished track. But this is Life Force Energy. I mean, the E is for both force and energy, but Life Force Energy by Zen Lion. Just need to remember to look at the analyzers. Yeah, that's your best way of kind of almost replacing that ear, right? Is to see what is the width doing and everything. This is nice, I like this. Very groovy. Very unique in the sound design as well. I don't know if I'm a fan of switching between the elements like halfway through the drop like you're doing now. Like this is the part where the pitchy thing comes in. And then the other half of the drop is the part where it's just the kind of metallic thing. Right? I guess not in this case. That's a cool sound. I like this. I would say that your kick can have 2 dB more in volume. So that the kick really stands out from the bass a little bit. When it comes to danceability in your groove, that's usually something that I would recommend. Yeah, this is just kind of like your early morning track, that kind of thing. I wouldn't say that this is meant to be very intense. When in terms of the sound design and just overall the way that you're filling up the space here, I would almost say that there's too many elements. Almost. Maybe if we can mix it correctly, then it works for that last section. But if that's not the case, then it's maybe just too many elements in there, fighting for the same space. But overall, like the production is really good. I left a long silence so that don't get SoundCloud autoplay. I love you. Thank you. You know how much I hate it, but it's nice that you leave the space for me so that the next track doesn't play automatically. We did check the last time, right? We did check the settings if there's any possibility of turning it off, and there's just no way to do it. Next up we have Decay with Quintessence, I think. I'm leaving Discord. Please tell me more. Quintessence, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, let's have a listen. That's you, nice. I'm never going to remember that. I'll remember that for today, and then the next time I'll forget. Okay, listen to the vocal. See if you can hear what the vocal is saying, everybody in the chat. I know there's a vocal in there. What is the vocal saying? It's just a quiz for the chat. You have this vocal in here telling a story to the listener. What is it saying? See you guys. Gonna join my girl making food. See you, dude. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah. Oh, your transients, my dude. Clean your kick and bass, and also turn your bass down 2 dB. When it came to the vocal before, the reason why I said like, what is it saying? Because nobody could hear. I knew for a fact that nobody could hear. And you can hear here as well, like the way that the transient of the kick is muffled is really up to the cleaning of the kick and bass. And obviously the vocal, as I said before, the reason why you cannot hear the vocal is because it's not loud enough. Vocals are storytelling elements, so they need to sit on top of the rest of the elements for the mix in order to be able to tell the story that they're telling. Because otherwise the vocal just doesn't make sense in the mix. If it's not telling the story and being up front and grabbing the attention so that the story could be told, what is it doing in the mix? Right? That's the kind of way that I like to think of it. I think the bass blends into the kick trend. Yes. And that's the cleaning part. And indeed, yes, it does sound muddy. You can hear the first kick transient has a lot more high frequencies than the rest, because I think it just gets pushed out of the way by the bass line. Here again, what is the vocal saying? Even though it's stretched and it's processed to have higher formants, what is the point of a spoken word vocal if it's not in the mix telling you a story? See you, Mind B. That you could pass by. Overall, your bass filter envelope could be closed a little bit further, like your filter cutoff. It feels very, very open for such a dark kick and bass. To be honest, Glyph, all of the plugins that you need to improve your kick and like your sidehands tracks is a plugin that just pops up every once in a while a window and says, have you cleaned your kick and bass? Have you prioritized all of your elements properly? And that's literally everything you need to get this into professional territory. Because the rest, the production and all of the elements in there are properly done. It's just the mixing and it's just the mixing and the cleaning part that needs to be done here. The production is on point. Again, I'll tell you the same thing that I told Niels at the beginning of the stream. If you want me to have a look at this track and really get it up to a professional level in terms of the mix, I can do that for you. The VST is just a give-up projector and a checklist. Yes, yes. It would be a good reminder to have that. Because as I said, this is one of the many tracks which we've heard where the main two problems is the cleanliness of the kick and bass, and in the mix, prioritizing elements. Determining, okay, what needs to be up front, what needs to be heard, and what needs to be supporting the element that is about to be heard. I do like the groove of the bass. Yeah, that's something that Wave Morpher said here. The first note kind of makes it go up in pitch. Let's hope that Altar of Wisdom is in here and he can actually program a plugin like that for us. I mean, if it's not for the cleanliness and the transient in here being so messed up, here you can really hear the effect, right? Of the transient being muffled by the bass line playing before it. It doesn't really have the power and punch that it should be kind of coming in with. Usually it's not something that you can really hear. I don't know what the conditions are for it to be such a big problem here. I feel like the high end maybe lacking a little bit on the kick, and that's what we're also hearing. But you can definitely hear that at some point the kick just gets overpowered by the bass line that is just playing before it. An intelligent AI plugin that says what the problems you have and you need to fix in your track will be. I don't think I would want that, because then I would be out of content for the Sunday afternoon, obviously. Yeah, I don't think I want that, Griff. That's a bad idea. I had to send an MP3. I didn't know SoundCloud have limited uploads. I guess because I ain't paying the pro thing. Yeah, SoundCloud likes money like every other company. So if you want a certain number of upload minutes, you need to buy them, I think. Their program has changed so many times over the past. Like, I have a pro account, so I pay like $125 a year SoundCloud. $125 a year. Obviously not $1.25, but $125 a year, I think. Maybe $130. And even I have still commercials of, oh, do you want this other paid subscription service that we also have? They just want your money, like everybody. In terms of AI, I think it's important to consider uniqueness, originality, because everything that has been made will soon be made 1 million times. Yeah, when it comes to AI music and all of that, I'm a little bit torn on the idea, because on the one hand, I do use AI arts for my releases. I always say to myself that for all of those releases, if it wasn't for AI, I would have made the artwork myself and it would have been worse. Like, if I go to my own SoundCloud page, I can show that. what kind of like my philosophy is of the AI art. So this last EP is mainly AI art, right? The ball in the middle is AI, the kind of galaxy that I put it in front of is AI, and then I just kind of compose that together with the universal questions and projector kind of font on top of that. That's all done by me. I did all of the layering, I did all of that stuff. You can see here, this is purely made by somebody. I paid somebody $250 to make this for me. And you can see the quality is just better. But overall, this is free. If I want to release out right now, this is the best way to do it, because I don't have to go through that whole process of commissioning an artwork, which just takes a couple of weeks to do, paying somebody a substantial amount of money, and then having it come out and perform, in terms of numbers, perform worse, right? But before, this was my artwork. Like, I made this. This looks stupid now. This looks also stupid now. I can go to some other like old artworks of like 2-3 years ago. Even this, like, this looks terrible. If you compare it even to the AI one, especially if you compare it to this one. Like, in terms of artwork quality, my album is second to none. If you look at all of the artworks that I have done, my album just kind of stands out as being way too high quality for the rest of the things that are happening. Obviously, there's a lot of things that don't even have an artwork. But I mean, look at this. This is the Travelers of the Universe, this Deep Forest. This is something that was out of my hand. Look at this. This is terrible in terms of artwork if you compare it to whatever of all of the other things that I've been putting out. Even this, Take Me Away, this is old stuff. These are old releases. But I made this myself in an afternoon. I would spend an afternoon making the artwork, and you can see what kind of quality of artwork you get doing that, as opposed to having paying somebody else to actually put in the time and making artwork. I mean, look at the details in here, right? When it comes to AI, where I wanted to go with this conversation. I'm always scared that I'm enabling the kind of behavior that will ultimately put me out of a job. Because my job is to make music, and even now, AI is just capable of making music, right? You give it a million Psytrance tracks, it will spit out another Psytrance track. And then it will spit out another Psytrance track. And it will do it again and again and again, as many times as you refresh the button. Right? It can just instantly come up with a new piece of music that sounds nice. And give it a few more years and it will sound professional quality. So I'm scared of that. But I'm also using AI in the same way to replace the people that I usually use to create the product that I create. Yeah, it's all Midjourney. It's all the thing you just type on Discord. You type your little prompt, and then it will show up the exact thing that you want. Where are we in the music? I think we just listened to this one, and we should be here. Cymax Bird, Ghetto Mastered. I like that. It's mastered, but just barely. AI is your friend until it replaces you. And that's my big concern is I'm using AI now to replace essentially an artwork artist, right? Somebody that makes cover art. How much time do I have left until I am the one that is being replaced by an AI? Because I can imagine that in a few years, Spotify will just say like, oh, we don't need new music anymore. We don't need new artists anymore. We'll just have an AI generate the type of music that you like, and you can just listen to AI generated music for the rest of time, right? In a few years. That will just be completely possible with how the technology is growing. I'm scared that other people, other humans, don't care enough about the artist, because from my own experience, I've not cared enough about the artist to not use AI art for the things that I'm producing. Do you know what I mean? Like by me using AI art, I'm essentially telling myself like, oh, as an artist, you're not valued. Nobody cares about you. You're going to be replaced with AI, if not now, in a few years. It is kind of funny that AI was marketed to us in a way that it would replace all of our jobs and we could all be doing creative things and doing exactly what we want to do in our life. And at the end of the day, all AI has done up until now is replace people in a creative field. At what point will life on Earth in general be replaced? I think we have a long way to go. When you look at our like economic systems and stuff like that, so much of the economy is based on trust and not so much value that I don't think people trust enough in AI yet to take over the job of something like, I don't know, an insurer or a trader on the stock market or something like that. All of those jobs take trust, and there's just not enough trust in AI to be doing the right thing. Even when it comes to something like self-driving cars. Anytime you hear a news story about a self-driving car, it's like a crash of a car or an incident that happened and one person got injured. Right? There's new article and this Tesla that just didn't stop for the signal and it continued driving and it hit a person and the person died or got injured or whatever. That's a headline article. The problem with that is that how many headline articles would there be if you were writing the same article for every human incident? Because there's car incidents with humans like 50,000 times a day, 60,000 times a day we get into an accident with our car. Like we drive over somebody or something like that. Nothing like that gets reported. But if an AI does it, it does get reported. So there is a minimal amount of distrust for an AI, but it's not enough. And that amount of distrust is enough for it to not just take over our lives. Right? But there's not enough distrust for it to not take over our artistic part of life. Everything that we interact with, which is in artistic form. Artistic form. I should be really careful with the pronunciation because I could say something else that is not really what I want to say. Yeah, true. Wave morpher. The AI, when I'm summarizing heavily here, but yeah, AIs are developed for specific purposes nowadays. So, and that has always been the case, right? So if you have an AI to generate images, it's not going to be good at stock trading, right? At some point, somebody will develop an AI which is just better at stock trading than every stock trader out there right now. So at that point, it will just overtake everyone. Because one of the things that AIs are really good at is overtaking humans because it's free, right? So any company that is working in stock trading, as soon as the AI turns out to be better in terms of its return on investment, everybody will just say, oh, I'll pay the fee that is necessary to use this AI, or I'll pay the subscription and I'll just start trading with the AI. Anyway, I think we have spent enough time without music. Let's listen to Cax Birds, Ghetto Mastered. Again, I like the idea of this being a ghetto master. Richard, how are you doing? Welcome. How's my day? My day has been fine. Not great, but just okay. Wasn't very productive this morning. But now I'm spending the day just listening to music and doing what I like. like the transition. I was like, how is this going to go into a kick and bass? But that works. More fades here. Specifically, your alignment here is really strange. You just get that one peak there. Square bass, yes, square bass indeed. Maybe your bass line is just a little bit too loud. Consider moving it down like 1.5, 2 dB on your bass line so that the kick stands out more. When you're doing snare builds like that, it's always helpful to make the snare a lot more stereo, because this snare was completely mono and it's like a rising element. You do want it to be kind of like a background element, the snare, even though it's like your main build-up. You do want that stereo field to be used for a snare like that. Yeah, there's something going on with your bassline when it's hitting with the kick. I don't know if it's aligned improperly or if the volume is just strange, but you can see like the volume of the bass and the volume of the kick is just off. The kick is the most important element of a dance track. Also here, if we're gonna do like a fade or something like that, clean it up before the transit. This peak doesn't need to be there. It doesn't add anything and it takes away energy from your transient of the kick. I like this groove. I like the changes up that you have here. But again, it just needs to be cleaned up. I would say don't change too much. Like production wise, this is a very cool track. Just clean it up. Like I've said many times before, just spend a little bit of time determining what are your main elements, what are my backing elements, and then mix accordingly. The cleaning is the main thing. You can see the waveform kind of being all over the place. I don't think too many people check their waveform when they're producing. I always have a track already ready to go to just record my master out in the project when I'm working. I think that that's a very good recommendation because it allows you to spot things like this, like the uncleanliness of your kick and bass and stuff like that. People say that you shouldn't use analyzers, but the easiest way to spot something like this, where the kick and basses aren't exactly in harmony and it's not exactly clean, is through this. Like, it's not a big problem. I think if I can pause it, I can almost instantly make out the kick at any point in time. It's just that the bass line here, you have this peak, you have the bass line itself being louder than the kick, which is usually not done. Those kind of things you really just easily can see from a waveform analysis like this. And in Ableton you can just record. I can show my template later. I just kind of have a track which is muted, but can always record the master output of my track. I didn't check the wave because it's not a rolling bass and I didn't know what to look for. Oh, the track is finished, so I cannot show it in the next section for this particular track. I do really like this track. I have to say, again, for all of those people that are new to the feedback streams, I don't say a lot of positive things about tracks because when I'm talking about a track, I really just want to talk as little as possible. So I don't want to be sitting here like, I like that lead, I like that bass, I like that kick, I like that drums. All of that stuff is useless information and it takes away the time that you guys can listen to the track uninterrupted and make up your own kind of decisions and have the people in the chat, you know, write down the things that they think about the track. If I'm speaking constantly over the track, they cannot really hear it because obviously when I'm speaking, I'm ducking down the volume of the track itself, so that you can actually hear me when I speak. So that's the reason why sometimes I'm not very positive when it comes to my feedback, but for literally every production that we've heard today, I have to say this is so close to a professional level and so close to an enjoyable level that I can 100% hear the idea and say like, this is a good idea, this is a good production. And that's been the case for every track up until this point, which is, I mean, it's I don't know what to say. Like, there hasn't been a track that is like, I don't know, this is off, this sounds weird, this sounds like it shouldn't be like this, right? Everybody in this chat here is a good producer, and I just need to take you guys and think a little bit about those simple details, the things that you can do, the kind of checklist that you can do, just up it to the professional level. And that's it. It usually comes down to three things. It's cleanliness of the kick and bass, when mixing, knowing what the functionality of every element is and mixing accordingly. And the third thing that I hear too often is stereo width, not using the stereo field properly. If you get those three things down, maybe as a fourth, your drum mix, the high end of your drums. That's usually something that people struggle with, not enough high end on their drums. If you get those four things down, you have a professional track. And that's for everybody that has submitted a track today that has just hold it. And even for some people, like you have four of those things and then three are already done. Right? So the quality of the productions that we've heard today is just massive. Wave-like, this is Wave Morpher with Save the Day. Next one is going to be a bit odd, prepare. Is it going to be high-tech? Is this going to be 180 BPM? Please tell me that's the case. It is very loud here. For an intro, this is very, very loud. what to say. I do think the kick is quiet here, but I have no idea how to like apply my normal kind of analysis to this track, because this is indeed a weird track. It does work, like mix-wise here. I said the kick was too low in volume. I would say maybe the bass overall is too high in volume. I think that's what's happening. This sub bass here. If you turn that sub bass down by like 6 dB, maybe. This is a bass line with this amount of volume, and this is a kick with this amount of volume. Do you see the issue in terms of volume? This should be the kick and this should be the bass line. Right, we can see the kick here at this volume again, and then the bass peaks at this volume. We can probably see the issue here, how in this mix the bass is more important than the kick, which in the history of psytrance has never happened. The kick has always been the most important element of the track when it comes to danceability. So when you're doing a part where the kick is responsible for the rhythm, which is always, then your kick should just be the loudest element in the mix, is what I'm trying to say. Like this is the kick, and this is the bass. Look at that volume difference. I could see myself tripping on the party with this. I agree if the mix was better. Again, production-wise, this is great. If you take into account the 3 things that I talked about before, the 4 things that I talked about before, professional track. You get this to a professional level. If we're able to understand those 4 things. There's no reason, by the way, for the sub bass to be this loud. It's taking the full loudness and it's in a break. A break, as the name suggests, is a breakdown. It's the part of the track where you relax and you don't dance, so that you can get ready for the next part of the dancing. In that case, there's no reason to have full loudness, because you're not at full energy, you don't want people to dance yet, right? So in those cases, I would say like take that sub bass, take that bass line and just put it down like 6-7 dB, maybe even like 12 dB. Because it's not, the point of that bass line is not to be loud, right? We are in a break. So from a musical idea, you shouldn't even have loudness on that bass line. Bass is probably too loud because it's a bit underproduced, might need some more processing. It's not about the processing and the effects and the specific things that you put on an element. When it comes to decisions like this, it's really about, and it's 100% about this, it is about your mentality when it comes to mixing. What is this element? What does it need to do? How do I achieve the functionality of this element? Those are the 3 important questions that you have to ask with every element when you mix. Let's take as an example a kick. A kick. What is this element supposed to do? It's supposed to drive the beat. It's supposed to drive the dance. It's the thing that we dance to when we are on the dance floor. It's the thing that determines the rhythm of our movement when we're moving like left to right, our main kind of like dancing movement. So for that to be able to do that, the kick needs to stand out of the mix. It needs to be a loud part of the mix. Just like, for example, your main element of the track. The main element of the track is the thing that we're listening to when we're dancing, and it determines the groove of the whole track. So when mixing, obviously those things need to stand out of the mix. like saturation maybe. Yeah, this is not something that is this fixed or unfixed with saturation. That's not the issue. Saturation is a key detail. When it comes to mixing, the thing that you need to worry about is functionality of elements. That's the major thing. Anyway, I thought it was nice to try mix DMB amps. I hope or more like. I do really like it. It's production-wise, this is great. This is again one of the tracks where I would say just message me and I'll worry about the mix for you, and then you don't have to worry about that mix, because I do know kind of how to do this kind of functionality element mixing kind of style, right? And you guys can hear that that's working for me in terms of my music. If you like my music and you like my mixes, then you know where it's coming from. It's coming from this idea that for every element, you just sit down, you say, okay, what is the function of this element within the music, and then how do I mix accordingly? That's all I think about when I'm mixing. When I spend 4 to 5 hours on a project like this, right, where I have exported all of my tracks. It's going to take a while to open now for some reason, but yeah, when I've exported all of my tracks into audio, and I have my kick, I have my bass, I have all of my drums in here, I have all of my sequences, I have all of my one-shots. All that I think about when I'm mixing in here is what is the function of this element. Let's say that I want to add this element. What is its goal? What does it need to do? Does it need to overpower? Does it need to be present? Does it need to be in the background? What do I actually want this element to achieve in terms of the whole story of the track? And then I just mix accordingly. If I say, oh, this element needs to be in the background, you can probably tell that I'm going to turn down the volume massively. If it needs to be in the foreground, I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit more. I'm going to have it at a higher volume. And then obviously that's the same is true for kind of like EQing, or in this case, in particular, this distortion and whatever I'm adding to the track. All of these decisions have been made from the point of view of what do I need this element to do and how do I achieve that. But if you never ask yourself the first question, you're not going to be in the position to answer the second question, right? The whole point of asking that first question, what do I need this element to do, is so that you can get to the point, which effects do I need? What does this EQ need to do? What does this compressor need to do? Whatever you throw on a track to mix it, what does it need to do? That's the question that you need to answer. It's not like, oh, do I need to compress this? Do I need to EQ this? It's the question that you need to answer is, if I were to put an EQ on it, what does this EQ need to do? How does this EQ fit in with putting this element into an actual space? That's the important part of the questions that you ask yourself when mixing. And I think that if you spend a few hours, like 3-4 hours, Wave Morpher, on just focusing, listening to the track, saying, okay, what does this element need to do? Mix accordingly, then you're just at a professional level. That's everything you need to get to a professional level. It's a really hard question to answer every time for every element, but it is a question that you can just ask yourself and train to kind of get into like that kind of state of mixing. I think the initial drop is way too lame. The reason is probably because the intro is way too loud. Yes. That's one of the reasons. When you have a drop, your first drop, you want to have an impact, right? One of the ideas of your kick being very loud is that when the kick first comes in and your kick and bass starts to play at your normal kind of kick and bass rate, is that it has that little bit of impact because it's a little bit louder than the rest of the track. And therefore you get this little bit of punch, you get this little bit of oomph, and you say like, oh, this is louder than everything else. This is the part that I'm supposed to dance to because it's giving me more energy. often get bored of my own tracks before taking it into a pro level. I don't know if I've said this too many times. I don't want to give this advice like to everybody, but for some people it might be a good idea to work like I do, where you produce in one DAW and then you mix into a different DAW. Right, so here this is a mixing project. Here I am in a mixing mindset. If I look at a production project, which is in Ableton, I am in a production mindset. Isn't professional sounding somewhat subjective to a degree? Yes, but there's definitely things that immediately turn you off of the idea of something is sounding professional. Right? When it comes to your mix, it's not like there's one mix for your track that is the right one and everything else is wrong. When it comes to mix, it is a creative process. Okay, I want this sound to be a background element. How much do I want it to be a background element? That is a choice that you get to make creatively. When it comes to mixing things though, if you hear a kick that is 5 dB quieter than the bass line, then that's an error. At that point, it's no longer a creative decision to have that kick so quiet. It's you didn't think about it or you didn't notice it, but there's just definitely an error because the element is too quiet for what it's supposed to do. Right? There is a certain guideline to getting a professional track in which you have to stay in, but inside of that guideline there is a little bit of wiggle room in terms of, oh, how loud do I want this element to be? How quiet do I want this other element to be? That kind of stuff. When I say pro level, I don't mean that there's exactly one mix that you should strive for and that's the mix that your track is supposed to have. It is a category of thinking about the mix that leads to a certain outcome. And that outcome, 9 out of 10 times, is just going to be a professional sounding track. And just one of the points, if you send your track to like 3 mixing engineers, all very experienced with mixing psytrance exactly in the style that your music is, and whatever, you'll hear that there's going to be differences between those 3 mixing engineers. Because there is a personal taste of what needs to be up front, what doesn't need to be up front. Maybe one mixing engineer says, oh, I like this element more than this other element, so I'm going to use this as the main element. And then the other mixing engineer is going to take that other element as the main element. But there is going to be a consideration of what is the main element, what is the backing element. That's always going to happen within the mixing process. When it comes to composing, how do you properly use these analyzers? I know about kick and bass alignment, but what about stereo fields? The stereo field is something that I always check for all of my elements in the production phase nowadays. I didn't used to before, like up until like 3-4 months ago, I didn't really used to think about it. But nowadays, the stereo field is always something that anytime I just make an element, I'll just quickly go and check. And if the stereo field isn't exactly doing what I wanted to do for that specific element, then it's not correct. When it comes to like production, the difference between production and mixing is that in production you're trying to get to a very, very clean mix through all of the sound design and all of the arrangement and all of the decisions that you're trying to make in terms of where are elements, where do elements need to be placed, and then, placing those elements. When it comes to the mixing, you already have all of your elements, right? You already have your finished track. There's nothing that's going to change about the sound design or arrangement or the structure of your track. You are trying to take the existing sounds and putting them into a mix that works for your track. You can obviously think about what happens when you go from production to mixing. The whole idea of production is to facilitate a certain type of mixing. In my case, it's the idea of exporting everything and then importing it into a new project and then working from that new project. And in that case, I would say that in terms of mixing, there's usually a lot of wiggle room in kind of changing the ideas about what each element needs to do. When it comes to people who produce and then mix in the same project, what they'll usually do is they'll set their kick and bass at a certain level, and then while they're producing, they'll kind of mix all of their elements towards that kick and bass, and then at the end of their like production session, they'll go back and check out if all of the levels and all of the EQing and the dynamics and everything that is part of the mixing still makes sense. And that's much more of kind of like a checking if the thing that I already did still works. Whereas my philosophy is more, okay, forget everything that you know about this track and redo it. Right? It takes a lot more time. I have to export each individual element, which takes just like 24 hours of rendering on Ableton. I'm gonna use my PC for anything. And then after that, obviously the whole mixing session, which takes like 4 or 5 hours per track usually. When it comes specifically to like the stereo field though, it's one of the considerations that you have to make for the mix. It is the 4 levels of separation. I actually have a short coming out very, very soon that talks about this. But the basic idea is that the 4 levels of separation are time, level, frequency, stereo field. Those 4 things, you can separate elements between those 2 things, right? So if you have time, obviously, if you play one element and then afterwards, at a time after it, you play another element, they're separated. If you play them on top of each other, they're not separated. That's a production level decision that you have to make, and your mixing decisions are going to depend on that production decision. When it comes to stuff like level, frequency, and stereo width, those are all 3 things that you're controlling in the mix. If you have something that is at the same time, playing at the same time, you have to at some point separate them either through level, or through frequency, or through stereo width, or through combination of 2 or more of those elements. I kind of have to pee again. I have some people that... How many tracks do we have? We do have a lot of tracks. I just have to get through this. I've been talking a lot, but I hope that the things that I've been saying is interesting. I do have this track a few months ago, but... Faithless Insomnia. I don't know if I can play that. Alvin Tap. I don't know if you're still here. I don't know if you're still in chat. When it comes to copyrighted music and remixes and like bootlegs and stuff like that, I can only play it if you have full licenses for everything and you give me that full license to use it. Obviously, by submitting your music for feedback, one of the conditions is that I can play it on stream. But that does require that you have all of the licenses to provide for me. I just take a mini note. So you don't. It's not an if it's not an official remix acknowledged by the original artist, then I cannot play it. It's just end of discussion. I cannot play your track because obviously I am going to get I'm going to get into issues with redistributing the original track that you're remixing onto YouTube, basically, with my live stream, basically. I'm going to get the copyright claim and everything like that, and I have to deal with all of the consequences. If you have all of the licenses to provide me with the remix that you've provided me, then I can do it, then I can play it. If you don't have all of the licensing and all of that stuff, then I cannot do it. The only reason why I can do it, if you have all of the licenses, I'll still get the claim, but I'll just push that off to you. I'll just respond to the claim saying like the original content provider has given me full permission to use that content, and I was acting in good faith in that they had the license. If you do not have a license, I won't play it to you, because I know you will get in trouble if I send... Basically, I tell the people that sent me the copyright claim, like, you guys have to deal with him. It's his fault. That's my whole argument. And obviously, if I can prevent it, I would like to do so. I actually want to go for a quick pee, and then we'll get back into the track that Written submitted. Give me 2 seconds, and I will be back. Which one do I put? I'll put on this track. This is a nice track. I like this one. I'll take a quick break, 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'll... Oh man, there's a lot of people submitting today. I like it though, that's nice. Anyway, this is a track I made, and I'll be back very, very soon. Nice to see that Klaus is taking over for me. Let's scrutinize myself. Let's see if I... the alignment could be better. This is still a mixing this track, so this still needs to go through the whole process like I explained before of assigning each element its own function and mixing accordingly. At that point it will be fixed. When it comes to a remix, I see you, Alvin, talking about how you had it on YouTube and without any problems. One, my channel is probably bigger than yours, so I'm a bigger target. There's even a chance that I'm monetized and you're not. In this case, that's another like level in terms of target. The other thing is that when it comes to redistributing other people's works without their consent, I'm very much against it. It's not even the risk of just getting a copyright claim that is bothering me. It's the idea that an artist can be like, I don't know your remix, first of all. So I don't know if you just took the track and added a sidetrans drop or if you really turned it into an original work. That might be the case. I always go for the safe bet, right? Of just not featuring it on my channel. I don't want to be in the position where I am reproducing some artist's work in which they have not consented to it. And the fact of the matter is that if you're remixing a track without a license, then the original artist that you're remixing has not consented to that remix. They haven't given you the go-ahead of actually releasing your track. And then to me, as an artist myself, I have to ask myself, like, do I want that to be what happens to my tracks? Okay, Alvin, I'm not going, okay. I'm not going to listen to your track purely from not purely from the idea that I can get struck by the algorithm. There's also the moral idea of just taking somebody else's art and turning it into something that they haven't consented to. It's always hard for me because I don't want it to happen to my own tracks. When you want to remix my track, you have to pay a fee to me. And the reason why I do that is because I want to have a certain amount of control about who takes my music and turns it into something else, right? It's the music that I've worked on. I spent hundreds of hours, probably like on average 100 hours per track, just finalizing the track, getting to that final product. I don't want somebody to just take that, spend 2 hours on it, put in a new main lead and call that a remix. So if I don't want that to happen to my own tracks, how do I expect that to work for like other tracks? You know what I mean? That's the kind of the moral dilemma that I have featuring other people's remixes on my channel like that. So that's why I won't be featuring the Insomnia. Also, Insomnia, it's a massive track, so I know that for a fact I'm just going to have the copyright trouble. It's obviously an extra hurdle. Even if I know that you took the track and you took the time to really turn it into your own production, which I'm just going to assume that you have. The copyright claim is still a barrier for me to just play it. Right? Because I have to sit here for half an hour, type out a response to the copyright claim and say like, no, the guy that sent it to me actually allowed me to play this on my stream, and if there's any licensing issues, you have to deal with that guy and not with me, and you have to message him and whatever. He has given me full consent to feature this track on my channel. So if there's any licensing issues, it's his fault. I don't want to deal with that. as like a YouTuber, because I know that anytime I stream, and especially with the feedback streams, every time I have a feedback stream, at the end of the feedback stream, I just have to spend half an hour to an hour responding to all of the copyright claims that I'm going to get from this stream. And that's true every Sunday. I don't want to I don't want to give labels and big artists any reason to do that to me. Do you know what I mean? So for that reason, remixes and anything with copyrighted material, I just don't feature on my channel. And it's not even the fact that it's a remix. Even if I see or I hear like somebody claiming that it's an original production, but they have sampled somebody else, I'll just stop the music that's playing. Right now we're going into Dance with the Devil by Henm. I think that's the name here, Henm. If at this point of the track he played part of a different track, I don't know what it, any other track that is like clearly copyrighted, I would feel uncomfortable playing that on my channel, because I just know that it takes me a lot of time to like fix that, you know what I mean, legally. I know you spend a lot of time on your remix. It's just that I'm not comfortable saying that for one, I don't think you have the license to remix Insomnia. Insomnia is such a big track. And if you did, okay, if you did have the license, at that point I would feel comfortable playing your track. And the only reason why I would feel comfortable playing your track, Insomnia, on my stream is because then I can send all of the issues that I may have to you. I will if I get a copyright claim, I will directly just call you out by name and say, you know guys, this is the guy that provided me with the track. He gave me all of the licenses to provide to reproduce that work. If there's any problem with this work being used in the way that it is, you know, Insomnia itself, you have to deal with this guy. And then I just put you into all of those problems. So at that point, to me, it's just like, I won't play it all together, and then nobody's going to have any issues. Either way, let's get into the new track. This is Dance with the Devil by Henm. That's a cool name, actually, now that I know how to pronounce it. Remixes are a great way to practice, but yeah, you have to make sure that you have express permission of the publishers. Indeed, yes. Yes. If you want to publish your own work, then it's 100% necessary that you have the rights to that work. Overall, this track right now, it sounds too mono to me. You can see some of the elements are just completely mono. Oh, I can move this for some reason. But you can see the... Thoughts on Rezo? What do you mean by reso? If you mean resonance, then I like it, because it makes acid. track, nice. It's more techno than psytrance really, but it's pretty cool. I do like techno. It's I've been to like a proper techno rave a few times. I do really feel like I understand what is supposed to happen in techno track. Overall, I would say for this track, the thing that I said before, there's just elements that are completely mono that don't have to be. That's something to look at too. The kick and bass is nice and clean, so that's a good thing. I do feel like the kick can use a little bit more presence, a little bit more punch in the mix. Overall, maybe even the kick and bass. Just turn them up by like 2 dB or turn everything else down by 2. This here, you can hear that main lead, that kind of lucky lead is just completely mono. Overall though, for this track I would say it's lacking a little bit of theming. It's called Dance with the Devil, but I haven't understood why. And usually this is a vocal, why, like, that is used to give identity to the track, right? Not so much the sound design and stuff like that. There's nothing in this track that alludes me to why the track is titled the way that it is. And you can hear this, yeah, this SS line as Klaus is saying, it's too mono, it's completely mono, so it's not really interesting. Stereo field usually tends to be just an extra level if interesting stuff happens. Like listen to this distorted lead here, as opposed to the mono sound. Can I send my track in the chat? No. No, you cannot send your track in the chat. You can send your track in the Discord. Right here, feedback on stream. You just post your track below the list of everybody else. Autoplay. That was autoplay by SoundCloud. That track was finished there. That means that for that track I would say that there isn't really an outro to it. So I guess maybe have like something that finishes it. I thought like we were going into the next break for the track, but that wasn't the case. I guess one of the reasons for that was the track that just played in autoplay actually kind of worked in terms of sound design with your track. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. And let's go into Klaus. This is Ethereal Drift. Ethereal. Yes. Ethereal Drift. This is the title. I cannot say more. I don't actually know how to pronounce it. Very strong transient here. I don't know if I like that. And then there's the cleaning. I also feel like the first beat of the kick sounds different from the rest of the kick. Even in this section, there's like a knock in the mid-range that's not present in the first kick of every 2 bars. You hear the kind of very mid-range strong area that's in here, just sometimes missing. You could see in the waveform there as well, the first kick did not have that very strong spike. I don't think you want a transient this strong. Also the bass, if this is your bass loudness, with respect to the kick it's too loud. Obviously disregarding the transient that we said before. Oh, it immediately started to play your remix, the Faithless remix. I don't know why it would do that. Because I didn't actually click it, did I? In fact, I don't think I even follow you. No. Yeah, no, it just started to play your remix. That's strange. That's creepy. It's like it heard me talk about it. I'm creeped out by that. This is very strange that happened. Let's just continue with the music that I have. I have to kind of go through it because there's many people that actually want feedback. This is AET Monkey with meditation.mp3. Let's play. So we went from a very stereo track into a very mono track, with those vocals being completely mono. I also don't like the impact that you had before the kick and bass started to play. That was stereo. Because it has so much bass, I would consider that to be an element that should be more mono. I think I've said it a few times to AET Monkey now, but you really need to clean up your kick and bass. That's an essential part of the production process. Maybe this track isn't finished, and that would be a reason why it's not yet done. But 100% clean your kick and bass. There's no reason why you shouldn't do that. At least at like some point before you go into making it the final track. think this track could use a few bass notes that are like melodic as well, because it's now just
Relax.
all the same note all the way through.
Close your eyes. Then quiet your mind.
I usually leave that technical stuff at the end. Yeah, most people do. It's not wrong to do it at the end. Especially if you know that you're maybe changing the bass like melody and stuff like that, and obviously already resampling is going to be annoying. I like this part. For the last part, I wanted to say, like, there's nothing that really stands out to me in terms of like, okay, what should I listen to and stuff like that. But here it's clear that there's like two main elements that I should be listening to. And that's the end of the track as well. Okay. I hope that helps in terms of the feedback. Again, I feel like it's a good idea for me to say that when it comes to feedback like this, I only really talk about the negatives, because if I were talking about all of the positives in a track like this, I would be continuously speaking, and I want you guys to hear the track as well. So that's why I try to keep it to a minimum, the amount of talking that I do myself. Anyway, this is AET 25 with Guzarish A minor 140 BPM.mp3. I sent on mp3 because I know that SoundCloud has a limit of uploading. Yeah, okay. The vocal feels like it's more 160 BPM than it's 140 BPM. I was tapping along with the vocal. I don't know if the microphone picked it up, but it didn't feel like the vocal was at 140 BPM. Nice and clean, you love to see it. Snare sounds underpowering. Should have more high end. It should not have any of that fundamental frequency, any of that kind of low muddy frequency. In fact, I don't really know why it's there, because the whole point of a top loop is to add higher frequencies, to add extra stuff to the groove. So why is it having so many frequencies in an area that already exists, right? From a mixing perspective, that doesn't really make sense. For that snare build, the first two segments of like the speed don't really accomplish anything. You have your normal speed, then you go a little bit faster, then you go a little bit faster still, and at that final part where you go the fastest, the 32 notes, that's where everything opens up. So before that build-up isn't accomplishing anything. It's not really driving the energy because it's staying at the same energy. At least the stereo field is better, I think. Yes, indeed it is. I'm a little bit tired. I hope my energy is still good enough for the stream. Today wasn't a good day for me in terms of energy that I have. What I would say specifically for this kick is consider having less volume at around 500 Hz. I feel like this kick is really boxy. You know what I mean? It needs some of that extra punch at 250 and a little bit less at 500. I like how the synths are aggressive and the delay makes them chill. Yeah, overall the structuring and the songwriting is really good. The use of the different synths and stuff like that, that's really nice. I'm actually getting really tired now. I mean, it's been almost 3 hours since I've been here, but still. Don't worry, I'm not just tired at the end of the stream. Like this part doesn't have a main lead. I know that there's that melodic line in there which should be a main lead, but it isn't mixed that way. Plus on 50 Hz at the 250 I would increase it a little bit, maybe 1 dB, and then 500 I would remove like surely 3 dB at 500 Hz, something like that. 3-4 dB. Yes, increase 250, decrease 500. The kick is distorted, even before the filtering. Why is it so distorted before the filtering? Are you using the distortion unit in kick 2? If you're using kick 2, turn off the distortion for sidetrans kicks. The distortion and the EQ and everything. You just want the generator and then the layer generator for whatever head that you're using. You don't want any of the distortion, any of the processing, any of the master stuff that Kick 2 is doing, because you could hear it towards the end there that it was like clipping and stuff. You don't want that. Not 99% of the cases, sidetrans kicks are clean, like fully clean without any like saturation and distortion. Especially the distortion, because obviously distortion is just more saturation than normal saturation. maybe a little bit of saturation, but you're in the realm where it's just clipping and distorting all the time. It might be your master chain that is doing too much. It might be the design of the kick itself, because it was even there when it was filtering. But there's something in your chain that just distorts the kick drum too much, I would say. How many tracks do I still have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a lot. I have to go through this fast, because otherwise I won't ever get done here. Freedom by Monome. Nice punchy kick. Nice use of stereo. Even though the sound design is very, very basic, the mixing in this case sounds very nice up until this point in terms of the definition of all of the elements. And then completely mono on the kick and bass side. Annoying. Make your bass a little bit stereo and clean this up, this alignment mess that you have here. Either make it so that your kick just takes up a 16 note, or align your kick and bass so that they work together. You don't have to push yourself. If you're tired to feet, to just go offline. You'll still be here next Sunday. I still can just sit here and listen. I'm just going to be yawning every once in a while. And clean my room as well, yes. I should do that. That's actually good advice. The fun thing about this stream is that I don't really have to do much. I can just sit here, listen, chill, and give my opinion on things that I hear. It doesn't take as much energy as a production. Here, this is again a classic example of things not happening in accordance with the fills. In this last case it did happen there. But before there were just changes without any announcement. I'm glad you guys agree. What I'll do here is say no more submissions. I'll just finish the submissions that I have now. I'm comfortable doing that. I feel good enough to go through all of this stuff here. I just won't accept any new submissions. Here again, just no use of the stereo field for that whole section there. And again here. This is completely mono. And even now that the drums and that one percussion is in there, it's not like it's very, very stereo at that point.
We pause for a moment of silence. I mean real silence. In
Also the
which
vocals.
Stop thinking.
Like, the whole stereo field that you have at your disposal is this pyramid here, right? Anything that doesn't go out of phase, that should be okay. It's that kind of square that you have at your disposal in terms of the total stereo field. You can get up to here. Why would you only use this in your high energy parts of the track? Shouldn't the stereo field be here at this point? Is my question. Did I overshare a bit on that? You don't have to worry with oversharing that. I did quickly see your message. I didn't read it all the way to the end, but I did read most of it. If you feel comfortable sharing that kind of stuff, then you can share it. I don't care in my stream, and I don't think anybody else cares here as well.
Life is nothing more.
I do like to think that my stream is very open about that kind of thing, about struggles and stuff like that, and that we're here to help each other.
There is no.
So if it's something that you struggle with and you think other people should know, then it might be convenient to actually just share it. It's up to you. Now this is an element that actually provides stereo. And you can hear that. Right? It's more here than it is sitting in the middle of your head. I am indeed getting very, very tired, but there's a few more tracks that I will listen to. The next track is by Pop Bpck. Huh? Pop. Okay. I would like to know which other elements I can add. I know there have to be a snare, maybe some FM. I mean, I would start with some stereo riff. By the way, this track is called Welcome to Russia.
Привет! I am the farmer Kukunda from Million. Russia, 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 Russia! Government County. It's the Million from Russia.
I like that you're using vocals, and I like the upfrontness that they have, but the kick and bass itself are too quiet. I know by turning up the kick and bass you're going to lose the focus that you have on the vocals now, but the kick and bass are just too quiet. See you, Asset. Welcome for stopping by.
We don't need
It wasn't so much about sharing about struggles or then talking about drug abuse. I don't know how the TOS of YouTube handles that kind of stuff. I don't think the TOS of YouTube minds the... Wait. What the fuck is going on here? Look at this waveform, guys. Why? DJ LK, welcome to the stream. Usually I would say yes, please send me some of your stuff. But currently I'm very tired. I'm trying to end the stream, so I'm not accepting any more submissions. If you can wait until next Sunday I will be back doing another feedback stream, and then you can submit however much stuff that you want. Yeah, this kick and bass just needs like 5 dB in volume.
But network is not so good. are future workers. Overtired. Android.
Get a similar state of frantic energy and tunnel vision. I have the same thing, yeah. I don't know what's happening to your waveform, that it's just kind of like pushing it down and up. It almost feels like you're introducing some kind of DC offset, but I really have to think about what you're trying to achieve here to get a waveform like this. Obviously it's not clean, the kick and bass, but it's a low oscillation that is causing the issues. Why? Why is there low energy in this track doing that? Like, look at the waveform, just kind of... I know it's laggy now. I don't know why this is so laggy as it is now. But sometimes it just goes up or down. Zoom. Like that. For a while. I don't know why you would want that on your track. Yeah, look at the level of the kick and bass now that nothing else is playing. You can see that it's definitely too quiet. Also, kick relative to the bass can use 2 extra dB, and the bass can use some stereo width. You can turn up the kick relative to the bass by 2 dB, then turn up the whole kick and bass group by 5 dB and make your bass line use some stereo. As well as overall just some more processing, I don't think would hurt. Just some more phasing with the filter and stuff like that. There seems to be very low rumble at times. You can see it on the second signalizer. This one here, yeah. This is good to indeed, yeah, check out some of the rumble here. I don't know if it had to do with like the vocals or anything, or if there was just like a random effect or anything like that. Obviously I cannot really tell from the composition of the project. I cannot go into your projects and look at what is actually happening in your project. Is the stereo analyzer broken, or was it very mono? It was very, very mono. Sometimes the stereo analyzer does break. Wait, I can zoom. It does break sometimes. Apparently I can zoom it in and make it bigger, which is nice. It does break sometimes, but it doesn't break in a way that it makes it more mono. It tends to break in a way that you get all of these kind of like weird lines across it, like horizontally. Sometimes it can break like that. Kink thing. How many more tracks do I have? 1, 2. 4 more tracks after this. This is Kink thing. There's Stuff I Hate, D149. Let's see if there's stuff that I hate as well.
I have a basic mechanical knowledge of the operation of the instrument, and I got an imagination. And when this time comes up,
up until this point, I haven't found anything.
It's me against the laws of nature. I don't know what I'm going to play. I don't know what I'm going to do. I know roughly how long I have to do it. And it's a game where you have a piece of time and you get to decorate it. And depending on how intuitive the rhythm section is that's backing you up, you can do things that are literally impossible to imagine sitting here, but you can see them performed before your very eyes in a live performance situation.
I love this vocal mix. I wanted to let you guys hear the vocal mix throughout the whole thing, to hear if you guys can hear the story of what the track is was telling. Throughout the whole intro, you could hear what the vocal is telling. And that's your end goal with a vocal, because a vocal is a spoken word and it's telling you the story of the track. So it has to be in front. And this track does that really, really well. I like that. Vietnam street food. Welcome. I always chuckle at your name because it's so random, but welcome to the stream. I am a little bit tired. I am about to end the stream after 2 more submissions after this one. But I'm still carrying on. And we're listening to some great productions. I mean, this is a Kingpin track, so what do you expect? Other than a great production like this. Ma in Italian? Sì, sono italiano. Non è vero al 100%, sono olandese, però da 10 anni abito qua in Italia e quindi l'italiano per me adesso è naturale, diciamo. I hope you're Italian too, so that you actually understood what I was saying. Otherwise it would have sounded so weird. Ah, okay, you're German, but you do speak at least the language. Here that main element was panned to the left. I don't know if that's done on purpose, but it sounded strange. Because it's the only element playing. Usually if you're hard panning something to the left, there's something panned to the right to complement it. Now it just feels like this one sound is just pushing me to the left without really countering it. Do you know what I mean? Where can I send my track in Discord? Normally I would say that you can send your track in the feedback on stream channel that you can see right here. Currently I would say don't do it because I said no more submissions. I'm tired, I want to end the stream, so I'm listening to the final few submissions that we have. But next Sunday you can send your track into feedback on stream and then I'll listen to it.
Who needs that crap?
Very short triplet segment. I always catch you so late because of work. Normally I'm a little bit more energetic at this point and my feedback streams tend to go for a little bit more time, like 4 hours. But today I just don't have the energy.
There's more stuff that I hate than the stuff that I like.
I like that. There's the musical idea here with that fill was to let the vocal sink in. You can hear that the vocal plays and then there's 2-3 beats of pause and then the kick and bass come back in and everything comes back in. That gives you the time to just think about, okay, what did the vocal say there? What is part of the story? And then you go in and dance again. You know what I mean? The switch of theme here in regards to the last segment that we had. This is really cool. That would be the point if you're switching drums where you go off the hi-hats. That would be the point where you have just a little bit of a fill. In this kind of psytrance you would usually see 1 or 2 beats. I personally advocate for a bar of fill anytime that you switch up, especially the drums, but also as a consequence your main elements. You can hear that in my music. I am a big fan of fills because there's a lot of things that you can do in terms of changing the energy level in there. I need to go over fills. I haven't had time yet. Yeah, that would be it would be a prime example of some place where it just needs to have a fill because there's an obvious change and nothing that announces the change.
Music and did it because they went into it as an art.
One of the things that you have to think about is when it comes to listening to music, humans tend to be very, very stupid. In the sense that we need to have everything kind of spoon-fed us for us for it to make sense. It's not like you can just have a section and then play it until the end of the section and then have a new section. We need to hear that the new section is coming. Right? So you usually have risers, you usually have a little bit of the fill, so that the kick and bass kind of stops, prepares the listener, and then the next section comes in, and then we can get into the flow of that new section. That's why fills are so important. Okay, we have a Klaus track, Andromeda. I think I've heard this before. Didn't you send this in before? No, maybe not. Maybe somebody else submitted a track called that, but I don't remember hearing this sound. By the way, I just posted my track. First of all, you posted it in the wrong channel, and second of all, I'm not accepting submissions anymore because I'm trying to end the stream. What's happening to your transient here? I don't know if it's going to come through with the compression, but the kick transient is constantly changing texture. Like you forgot to set the kick synthesis to the same phase every time. You guys hear the kick transient changing with every beat? That's not normal. No, never. It might have been another track that shared a similar name. Very strong harmonics right above where your kick and bass is supposed to play. It's usually not a good idea because they're going to take over. Here you can hear that your attention is drawn away temporarily from the kick and bass when that element plays and then it goes back. That's a prime example of what you don't want to have. Too much up in that percussion, yes. Even the kick sub looks different. So. Do we get more kicks later? Yes. Like the kick sub looks different every time as well. I don't know what you're using to synthesize your kick, but there seems to be some randomness in the waveform. I need to fix my kick for most of my tracks. In this track it really stands out. It's not something that I notice in other tracks of yours. But for some reason it just stands out here a lot. Also you can see in the waveform what this percussion is doing to your waveform. It's just squashing it more like a kick than your actual kick is doing. Also something to consider, your break there was louder than this part of the drop here. I don't know if you want that. Usually that's not a good idea. Okay, so the last track that we have today is by Arnold T. Elysium Poisoned Meltdown. Let's see here. Elysium. This is actually a pretty big profile. 2,000 followers. Nice to see a submission from them. It's a name that I've seen before. I just don't know where to put it. I know it's not from a name that I know from Sidelines. It's like a game or something like that I've seen the word Elysium before. Maybe Dark Souls? Isn't it Dark Souls 2 maybe?
Art and music.
Like part of a boss name or something like that?
Bringing us closer to the divine. And there may be no more powerful integrative tools for examining and healing our soul than the creative arts.
I like the mix. I don't like that the kick and bass just kind of comes in. There should be some kind of announcement for that to happen, right? Because that's a pretty big moment. The kick and bass kind of starting to play and starting to provide the rhythm for a track. Maybe a little bit of like a reverse impact or something like that, just to announce that that's happening. I like this kick and bass. It is nice and clean, although it's not faded out very far, it is at least cleaned up. Right, there's no overlap between the kick and the bass. Did I say Elysium? It's Elysium. I'll put it on the screen. Elysium. I may have said Elysium, which is not correct. I like the sound design here with the repeating sound. The only thing that I would say here is again the track is lacking fill. There's no announcement of the things that are about to happen. Right, things just kind of happen. Whenever. There's no real structure to it because there isn't any fill. Now we're into this kind of melodic line here.
Art and music can be a spiritual practice, bringing us closer.
Vocal mix is good. Yeah, this last part, it isn't good because it's not understandable anymore. But in the beginning it was a nice. This is also nice and clean. I like that. point, man. You need to fill it with more effects, right? No, you need more fills. So we can ignore that last part. When I say like fills, what I mean is that you remove the kick and bass for half a bar, 2 bars, something like that, and put in something that signifies to the listener what is about to happen. That's the point of a fill. The fill is there to transition from one section into the next section. And the way that you're transitioning right now is that things just kind of happen. The kick and bass just play, the drums just play, the synths continue playing, there's no change, and then suddenly an element is added. There's no announcement of that happening at some point. And that's the kind of announcement that I would like to hear on a track like this. Right? So anytime that you're saying, okay, I want to change drum elements here, take 1 bar of the kick and bass and just delete it. And leave 1 more of the kick so that obviously you end the phrasing of the kick and the bass. But then you just have your fill there. You add some drums, you add your unique fill synth, you add whatever kind of effects that you want. At that point, you can play with it. You can experiment with what exactly to put in the fill. But the very first step that you need to make is deleting kick and bass so that you can make a fill there. That you can make something there. Because if you continue the kick and bass there, you have nothing to make there because you're out of space already. And then obviously you're not going to look for it because there's nothing to place there because there's no space to place anything. Yeah, I am very, very tired. I think you can tell my words aren't really coming out the way that I want them to be. It's also been 3.5 hours that I've been live, so I think that's a good length for a stream. For now, that means that I'm going to end the stream here. As I promise every week, I'll try to see if I can stream at least 2 times or 3 times. I know for a fact that's not going to happen next week because I'm very, very busy next week. So don't expect any streams. If I have any time left and I have enough energy and everything to stream, I'll stream. And if not, then not. Obviously next week, Sunday, is going to be a new feedback stream, and I hope that you guys are all here for that then. In the meantime, watch my videos, watch my shorts, watch all of the content that I have. If you're interested in buying any of my products, today is actually the last, or is it the last day? I think tomorrow up until noon, but I don't exactly know when it finishes. I am running still a summer sale. If you want to be safe and you want to buy some of my products, do it right now. I don't know tomorrow when the sale will finish, but it will finish tomorrow. I have set it to the 24th and then noon, but I don't know if that's my time zone or Gumroad's time zone, which is San Francisco, or any other time zone, I don't know. So if you want to buy any of my products with 30% off, use code SummerSale23 to do that. And that the best way to do it is to do it right now, because obviously today I'm sure that it works. As it says in the pinned comment, make sure that you get it. But yeah, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope that the feedback was helpful that I provided today, and I hope to see you in the next one.